All right, so today we are diving into something a little different.
Yeah.
It's a story about a guy and a leaky nipple.
Okay.
And we're looking at this blog post from Goofy Dads called Man Boobs.
All right.
And it's a really funny blog post, but it kind of gets at this, interesting part of healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
So
Interesting intersection there.
it is, yeah. And so this guy, the Goofy Dad, as we'll call him,
Okay.
he discovers his nipple is leaking this clear fluid.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, making jokes about it, comparing it to a leaky faucet, just really leaning into like the dad humor.
Yeah, classic.
But
Trying to play it cool.
totally, he's like brushing it off.
Yeah.
Like it's nothing.
Right.
But his wife and his mom are like, no, you need to see a doctor about that.
Good for them.
I know, right? They really made him go.
Yeah, it's good because sometimes you need that extra push.
Sometimes we try to ignore things, especially with health stuff.
Yes.
So he finally goes to the doctor,
Okay.
probably expecting,
Yeah.
a pat on the back and like, you're fine.
Right.
But instead, the doctor's like, I think this might be gynecomastia.
Gynecomastia.
Yes, and orders a mammogram,
Wow.
a manogram, as he calls it.
Manogram.
So he ends up at a women's health center,
Oh, wow.
feeling totally out of place.
Understandably.
And, I mean, can you imagine being a guy
Yeah.
and having to go to a women's health center for this?
There's already so much pressure on men in healthcare settings anyway.
It's like they're supposed to be stoic and never show any weakness.
Exactly. And here he is,
In this situation.
in this situation.
And he's describing the women's health center, and it's just hilarious.
I bet.
The knowing smirk of the receptionist.
Oh, no.
The building with the signage, and he's like, am I in the right place?
It's like he's entered a different world.
Oh,
A world where men aren't supposed to be.
Exactly. And it's like, why? Why is
Isn't that
that?
right? It really makes you think about how we've gendered certain health concerns.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah.
And he talks about like waiting in the waiting room,
Oh, God.
and you can just feel how uncomfortable he is.
Yeah. I bet he's just like looking around.
Totally just like fidgeting and
Yeah, and overthinking everything.
yeah, like trying to be invisible.
And he's probably surrounded by like magazines and pamphlets about like
Oh, I'm sure it's all like women's health stuff.
exactly. And he's just probably like, oh my God, I am so out of place.
Right. But like even though he's cracking jokes, you can tell he's really uneasy.
Yeah. It's that classic kind of like nervous laughter.
Totally. And it makes you think about like how societal norms can really impact men's health.
Definitely. It can be so hard for guys to seek help for things they think are embarrassing.
Totally. Like they're supposed to just be tough and deal with it.
Exactly. And unfortunately, that can prevent them from getting the help they need.
So true. And he talks about how relieved he was when they finally called his name for the mammogram.
Like he escaped.
I know, right? Like it was a victory just to get out of the waiting room.
Yeah, just to get to that exam room, he had to go through like a whole mental obstacle course.
Seriously. And then, of course, he describes the mammogram itself
Oh, God.
in like excruciating detail, but somehow he still makes it funny.
Well, that's the thing about humor, right? It can be so disarming.
Definitely. And it kind of helps you cope with awkward situations.
Totally. It's like a defense mechanism.
Yeah. But even though he's joking around, you can still sense this vulnerability.
Oh, for sure. It's like under the surface.
Yeah. And it makes it so relatable because I think a lot of men have been in situations where they feel like that.
Absolutely. It's that feeling of being exposed and out of your element.
Yeah. And he's so open about it, which is refreshing,
Totally. Most men would never talk about something like this.
especially not in such a public way.
Right. And I think that's what makes his story so powerful.
Definitely. And so the good news is the mammogram comes back clear.
Oh, good.
No signs of cancer.
That's a relief.
Right.
Good.
So it all comes back to the gynecomastia diagnosis.
Which we haven't really talked about much.
I know, right? But we'll get into that more in a
But
bit.
it sounds good.
But it's interesting because he jokes about it, but you can tell he's still kind of processing it.
Yeah, I bet.
And this is where I think this story takes a really interesting turn because it could have just ended there.
Yeah, like, okay, I got checked out. Everything's fine. Moving on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But instead, he uses it as an opportunity to talk about men's health more broadly.
Which is awesome.
I know, right?
Yeah.
He's like, this happened to me, and it might be happening to you too.
That's great because men's health often gets overlooked,
It really does. And he's like putting it out there in a way that's both funny and relatable.
which I think is really effective because it makes it less scary for other guys to talk about.
Yeah, destigmatizes it.
Exactly. And hopefully it encourages more men to prioritize their health.
Yeah, because there's nothing unmanly about taking care of yourself.
Nothing at all.
It's almost like he's giving other guys permission to not be so afraid.
Exactly, to be open about these things.
Yeah, and that's huge because I feel like so many men just suffer in silence.
It's true, and it shouldn't be that way.
No, it shouldn't. So you mentioned gynecomastia earlier.
Yeah.
You said it's more common than people think.
It really is. It's pretty common during puberty, and then again as men get older.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's often related to hormones changing,
Right.
but it can also be caused by certain medications
Uh,
or even underlying health conditions.
so it's not always just like a benign thing.
Not always.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of the time it's nothing serious.
Right.
It's definitely important to talk to a doctor about it,
Yeah, just to be safe.
to rule anything else out.
And to figure out if there's anything they need to do.
Exactly.
So basically, if you notice something's up,
Don't ignore it.
talk to your doctor.
Yes, it's all about being proactive.
And not letting those societal expectations dictate how you handle your health.
Absolutely.
It's your body.
You know yourself best.
You deserve to get the care you need.
Exactly.
Well, this has been quite a deep dive.
It really has.
From a leaky nipple to a really thought-provoking discussion about men's health.
We covered a lot of ground.
We did.
And hopefully we've encouraged our listeners to be a little more proactive about their own health.
Yeah, I hope so.
And to not let fear or embarrassment stand in the way.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
That's so important.
It really is.
Your health is worth advocating for.
Absolutely. All right, well, on that note, we're going to wrap things up here.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Thanks, everyone.
Until next time, stay curious and take care of yourselves.
Bye, everyone.